Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching. For those tuning in, my name is Rhoda Lalog, and I'm the founder of Urban Consciousness. And I've been having some really amazing conversations with my LinkedIn community of leaders who have been courageous enough to share their personal journey with psychotherapy. And I'm really excited today to have Heidi Tsao with me. And Heidi, if I can just have you introduce yourself and maybe a little bit about your career journey and your leadership roles would be great.
Cool. So I started out in marketing and design out of university. My first real full-time job was on a video game at the time. I don't know if it ever saw the light of day. But from there, and that was in Montreal, I moved to Toronto. I went in advertising and home computing and banking, always in sort of marketing, content, and design roles. And then I became a people manager and went to HR administration, and now I'm in telecom. And when I joined this company that I'm in now, I started as a people manager, but now I'm back to being an individual contributor.
Wow. Well, thank you for being here because you have so much amazing experience that I can't wait for people to hear about in terms of your journey. And so, I wonder, I'll share with you, I've been having a few conversations lately, and one of the topics that keep coming up in terms of, people managers and leadership development roles is how important psychotherapy can be in terms of adding to that development toolkit. And I'm just curious about, your thoughts, because you've been through so many, industries and different organizations. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that psychotherapy is actually integral to being a strong leader, because the way I see psychotherapy is it's about self-awareness. It's about knowing yourself. And if you don't know yourself and you don't know your motivations and you don't know what you're capable of, you don't know why you're doing things, then anything that you do and get people to do won't be genuine. And that causes confusion. So a psychotherapist can help you with that awareness, because even though we should know ourselves the best, like we are ourselves, we are also in ourselves, and there's so many things that confuses that: emotions, you know history, our families of origin, etc. And we don't have the perspective. So a psychotherapist can give us that perspective because they are outside of us, seeing things from the outside.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. And I think so much conversation, of course, especially since the pandemic, is how important emotional intelligence skills are in the workplace. And I think you hit on a really important point. It's all about self-awareness. And so, on your journey, at what point did you, decide that this was the time for you to really dig a little bit deeper in that space?
I had grown up in a family that, a lot of us have grown up in, which is like an immigrant family, and grown up thinking that emotion and anything having to do with therapy was a sign of illness or weakness. And feelings are better off controlled. You don't show your feelings, you don't talk about your feelings, because it just means that you're weak. So I would make jokes about being cold, being a robot, and to be honest, I was quite proud of it as well. I thought that I was somehow strong because I didn't feel things, or I was really good at hiding them. So then I grew up and became an adult and got adult responsibilities, and I came to a point in my life where I got really confused and was just in a really bad place. I didn't know what to do. I felt very lost. I felt stuck. And just because I had, no other choice, I was like, well, I might as well talk to someone about it. What could go wrong? Like I hear people say that therapy helps. So I decided to talk to a therapist. And I really credit her with helping me turn my life into a different direction, like a completely different direction, which is no small feat, because you live your life, however many years. For me, it was 30 something years, and I was following a certain path to turn that path like completely different, that's huge. So I really credit therapists with doing that. And the way that she did it was she helped me see things from an outsider's perspective. She helped me see things that I couldn't see because I wasn't self-aware. I was deluded, I was in denial, I was misguided, and all of that had accumulated over years and years and years. And
Mhm.
she just helped me unravel and interpret all of those thoughts and feelings.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that. And, I can say that I completely relate to what it is like growing up in a family with immigrant parents, and what that can look and feel like in terms of, suppressing your emotions and following the straight and narrow path. And so I can certainly relate to that. And I'm curious, did you share with anyone that you were actually going through therapy, especially maybe even with your family?
So I remember sharing a little bit with my husband at the time. Um, but because he asked, because he knew I was doing therapy, but he seemed much more interested in the results rather than the journey. Like I remember he would always go, "So what's next? What's next?" And I'd be like, "That's not how it works." And then the other thing is, I remember sharing with my sister because she disclosed to me that she was doing therapy, and it was such a funny moment because she was kind of upset, and she was like, "And that's why I'm seeing a therapist." And then I said, "Me too." And we both just realized that we were having the same experience and we could really relate. And it was just hilarious to us because we've both been hiding it up until that point.
Yeah, that's so great that you have that support. So good. So I guess my question for you is, like you said, it was a journey. And I'm sure there were so many parts of that journey where there were like big aha moments. If you can just share for you, what is maybe one aha moment or one lesson that you can take away or that you've taken away from therapy that still resonates maybe with you today?
Um, well, I have two. The first one was like, like that stereotypical like breakthrough where you're like, wow, like, and you have a big realization. Like that really happened. And for me, when I tell people about it, it seems like really, really simplistic. But for me, it was the realization that my feelings were not wrong.
Mhm.
Feelings were just feelings. They're just something that happened naturally. And when I realized that, I was like, I guess that's right. Like I'd grown up thinking that if I felt a certain way and it was not necessarily convenient for other people, then it was wrong. And the realization that no, feelings just happen and they're not right or wrong was really a breakthrough moment for me. Um, the other was that this life I'm living is my own life as an adult. And this seems like really kind of weird. Like I was sitting there, and I guess at this point I was maybe in my 40s. And it was the realization that I was a 40-something-year-old woman and I was responsible for my own life. And that was so weird because, like, it sounds weird to say it now,
Mhm.
but I guess up until now, I thought that I was just living it on behalf of someone else, or I was living it for my parents and just doing it to please my parents. And I was like, wait a second, no, I'm a grown up and this is my life. And I'm responsible for the decisions that I make.
Yeah.
And that was really real turning point for me.
That's amazing. Those are pretty, two significant aha moments. And I know that you say like it sounds weird to say that now, or it might sound weird now, but there's something amazing that can happen when you really have that objective person, that third party that kind of, mirrors back to you the things that you're sharing. And it's
Mm-hmm.
one thing to understand something on a cognitive level, but to actually go through that support with someone who can help you tap into some of the things that you might not even be conscious or aware of, is another thing. So
Oh,
thank you for
yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah, totally. And the way that she played it back to me, until you hear someone else say it, sometimes you don't realize how strange it is the way that you've been thinking. So when she played it back to me, I was like, wait a second, that sounds off. But I'd never heard it like that before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Heidi. I guess my last question for you, as we close off, for those, maybe out there that are listening, that are on the fence about therapy, don't really, believe that it can make that much of an impact, what would your advice, maybe be to them?
Do it. If you are lucky enough to have the benefits to help pay for it, do it. Take advantage of that and expect that it's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to feel nice, but I mean, you can liken it to doing exercise. Exercise and working out doesn't tickle, right? But unless it feels that way, you're not going to see any results. So it's going to be hard, and you're going to feel, it's going to bring up some things, but that means it's working,
Yeah,
and it'll just make you a better leader, but more importantly, it'll make you a better person.
awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, thanks. Bye, Heidi.
Bye.